like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change them. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change them. I never switched up. Social.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dope Black Thoughts Live. My name is Kevin Cox. I'll be your host today, and we have a real special guest on today. And a lot of stuff going on in today's economy, a lot of stuff going on in our personal lives. You know, a lot of dinner table conversations. So I think we have some important stuff to talk about with a very special guest. His name is Prince Dykes from the Investor Show, and if you haven't seen him before, you need to go check him out.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. Definitely glad to be here.
Hey, Prince. What's going on out here, man? I mean, because I'm hearing things. I'm hearing things, man. I'm hearing people talk about possible recessions. I hear people talk about, gas prices, economic decline, possibly. Talk to me. Let me know what you see, because you're the go-to man for financial and investment and economic knowledge.
We are seeing kind of, it looks like a playback of 1981, I believe, late 70s, early 80s, where we're seeing we're having a high inflationary period. Everybody loved those stimulus checks and those trillions of dollars that was pumped into the economy. Everybody loved those $1,200 or whatever in the PPP loans that the Federal Reserve just printed this money, pushed it out into the economy. And what ended up happening is every cause has an effect. So when you push that much money into the economy, it usually raises the prices. Well, first, it increases the demand for goods and services. And when supply stays the same and demand increases, that's automatically going to increase prices. On top of that, we already had a supply chain shortages due to what the pandemic had done to us. So, demand is high, supply is low, that's going to push prices up. On top of that, we're in a hot real estate market as well, almost too hot for people on the buying side, right? So I know, especially you being out there in California, especially here in Denver, all over the country, everybody's feeling it. But when you look at
seller's market, isn't it?
So again, it's definitely a seller's market right now. Definitely a seller's market. But you have these high inflationary periods. What happens is, it's not good for the economy going over time, right? It kills people's pockets. You're seeing gas prices go up. We got overseas international things happening with Russia and Ukraine situation. Russia being like the number 3 world producer in oil. Then we have a ban on them. Then so right now it's kind of a playback, of what we saw in the late 70s. If you see the late 70s, early 80s, I wasn't here for that, but I did a lot of studying. I talked to a lot of people that was here on Wall Street, investing at that time. And what essentially it's like a replay at that time. Right now, we're complaining about interest rates, right? Everybody's like, man, interest rates are 5%, 6%. Interest rates are starting to raise. So one of the things you do, inflation weakens the dollar. You can get less goods and services with, less goods and services that you can purchase with the dollar. So when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, it's sucking money out of the economy. On top of that, something you never hear people talk about, the Federal Reserve, in a way to stimulate the economy, they pumped $95 billion into the stock market when the pandemic happened. Remember when we had that pandemic and all of a sudden we had a big jolt and everybody became a stock market genius. Everybody became a crypto genius, and I kept telling everybody, everybody's a genius in a bull market. So now the Federal Reserve is doing the exact opposite. The Federal Reserve is taking that money out of the market, right, in a way to cool the economy down. Go ahead.
So if I'm not mistaken, now it's becoming a bear market.
Look at you. Give a round of applause. Yeah, right. Give a round of applause for that, man. He really doing it, So now we're headed into a bear market because guess what? The Federal Reserve is pulling the money out of the stock market and it's also raising the interest rates. When you raise interest rates, that's drying up. That dries up money, makes money tighter, money harder to borrow. The easy money days are gone. And now you're seeing, guess what? Home prices now is 5%, 6% to get a house. Just 2 years ago, it was 2%. So now houses have become more expensive just because of interest rates, money to borrow. But every time there's a negative, there's a positive. So right now
Okay.
it hurts investors, but now it's turning into a savers world. So before, in a bull market, savers sorry about that. In a bull market, investors are winning. Oh man, look at me, man. Look at my crypto. You better get on this. I know you have friends call you and tell you about their crypto is doing so well.
Yes.
Then you had your other friend call and tell you about how his stock was doing so well. Then your other buddy call you and told you about how he was flipping houses and renting houses and how he made so much equity in his house. And man, my house was worth 200,000. Now it's worth 600,000. You have all of that in a bull market, right? So when your money is on the sideline, when you're saving money in that type of economy, you're losing hand over fist, right? Low interest rates, you see everybody push up in assets, but it's classic of what happens. That's why the Federal Reserve lowered the interest rates when the pandemic happened. They cut the interest rates almost to zero. And when they cut interest rates in order to push asset prices up, now they're doing a reverse. They're raising interest rates. And now you are seeing people, you hear crickets when you talk about cryptocurrency. Everybody's like, man, those stocks, man, I don't know, or whatever.
I don't know.
And now you're seeing the housing market is the slowest to react. It never reacts to economic data like the stock market does. So that's why the stock market is a leading indicator of what is to come. So right now you're seeing the Federal Reserve raise interest rates, and you got to look at when the last time the Federal Reserve chased interest rates. This happened back in the 70s. Right? This happened back in the 70s when Paul Volcker was the Fed chair. He did this, and interest rates went up to 20%. If you had good credit at that time, the interest rates was 16% to purchase a home at that time. So they ran interest rates all the way up so high that it caused unemployment to go up. It caused it tied up all the money. It dried up a bunch of money because interest rates went up so high. And guess what? They pushed themselves into a recession. And when that recession happened, that was the way they got rid of that inflation. So that's kind of like the talk of the town. Not everybody's anticipating. The Federal Reserve just came out yesterday and said, hey, unemployment might start going up. They're projecting inflation to be a little bit higher. They're expecting, real estate. So things are looking a little gloomy. They're saying, hey, we're going to have a little bit of pain before we have growth.
Okay. Here's a question though. You said unemployment would go up. What is it that drives the unemployment from the interest rate?
Well, what happens is, companies just survive off of being able to borrow money, right? Companies borrow money to grow. They borrow money to expand. And when interest rates are very low, it's very easy to borrow money. Money is very cheap to borrow. So people love to expand. So when you see interest rates going up, usually it slows down an economical slowdown, right? So for prime example, you just saw what happened at Coinbase. They did a bunch of layoffs. You see when interest rates are going up, money gets tighter. When inflation going up, people buy less goods and service. Because guess what? I just filled up my tank and it cost me almost $150, $160, right? So that's a $50 increase tax that I'm paying just to fill up my tank, just to get around, right? So what happens is when people buy less, and things doesn't look gloomy, when things start to look a little gloomy, people start to lay people off. People start to, companies start to become more conservative because money becomes hard to borrow. Banks start to tighten up to who they lend money because they don't know if you're going to be able to pay them back. So this is a great time for investors, but it is a bad time for, things like they're going to get worse before they get better. You got to go through a little pain.
No, I don't know, Prince. I don't know if I can play the violin for you for filling up that Bentley.
Oh no, definitely not a Bentley, man. No, that's Marcus. Marcus is one with the Bentley. That was my station wagon, man. My station wagon trying to get, it's an old car, man. It takes a lot of gas.
Yeah, no. I got a minivan, and filling that bad boy up. It ain't no joke.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think I spent $120 last time I filled it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely understand that. So possible recession. So you're saying it is currently now it's a savers market. Here's my question. It's a savers market, but a savings account doesn't earn that much interest. But you're saying it's less liability on the money that you save as opposed to put it into the stock market, which has more of a return, but it's more volatility.
Yeah, so what it's turned to a savers market because guess what? The S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in America so far this year, is almost down 30%. Right, they're down 20-30% from January to now. They're down 20%. So when interest rates rise, the national average on a savings account is 0.06, I think it was. So as interest rates start to rise, guess what? Those savings accounts, CDs, their interest rates start to rise. So guess what? Even if I'm only making 0.06%, I'm beating you at your negative 20, right? So the investors are looking at these stocks like, this looks, it's not looking too good for me. But someone who's a saver, hey, they're getting a little 0.06%. Some in a good instance, they might get, 0.8, 0.9 or something like that or whatever. But as interest rates go up, the value on CDs and savings accounts and those type of interest money market accounts, those things draw a little bit more interest. Now it's not going to beat inflation, but they are doing better. And when you're looking at an economical drawdown like you're seeing where crypto is down, you're looking at crypto is down, stocks are down, is nowhere to hide right now. So savers are kind of like, hey, you know what? I'm not losing anything, and plus I'm getting 0.06%.
Now, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You usually talk about stocks and bonds. Okay, yeah. You were talking about the market being down. It's a savers market, so that makes me think about other types of investments that people use. Like what is it? Currency exchange
Forex.
And precious metals.
Okay.
Gold and silver. I never heard you really talk about gold and silver, and I hear that those are super safe investments. Is that closer to more like the stock market, or what does that look like?
They're considered commodities, but I tie them into the market as well. The reason why you don't really hear me go too crazy about gold and silver is times like this, you're going to see gold and silver get talked about. They're going to run. You've seen silver start to shine today. You saw gold start to shine today, and surprisingly, you saw some of these discount stores like Dollar Tree, Dollar General started to get a McDonald's. They started to get a little perk because they feel like people be bargain hunting these times. During these economical downturns. So
Walmart might be doing better.
The discount stores. They're looking at a lot of discount stores. People buying in bulk, like a Costco and discounts. People may try to get discounts or whatever. But you don't hear me talk about gold and precious metals. Too funny, because when the market is doing very well, you don't hear about them, right? When we had that 10-year bull run from 2010 to 2020, 2012 to 2022, 2020, 2010 to 2020, you saw that big bull market. You saw, you didn't see precious metals do too much. So times like this is when you're going to see precious metal jump. They spike during economical downturns, and then they go back down. It's like right now, I'm riding oil, I'm riding gas. I'm anticipating higher gas prices during the summertime, right? And but I'm not long-term on oil, right? I'm just like right now doing an economical craze, whatever. Everybody's going to be like oil, gas prices are going to go up and plane tickets are going to go up. The demand for gas and oil is going to go up, but I'm not long-term. So, I talk about precious metals, but I'm not long-term over them because they do well in very, times like this where you have economical downturns, but over the long term, you're going to get a better return out of your equities.
And maybe dig a little bit deeper on oil for me because I know I only got you till 6:45 your time, but talk about oil a little bit more because if I'm not mistaken, I heard people saying that it's a little bit synthetic, the oil prices and whatnot, because the price per gallon is about the same way it was several years ago, but the price is like twice as what it was back then too. Is that an inflationary thing, or is that just like a corporate greed type of thing? Like, is that bubble going to burst and then prices come back down?
Yeah, I believe it's a mix of, oil price. You got to think about it. Oil prices are a leading indicator. So as soon as the OPEC down out in the Middle East, who are kind of the conglomerate that got together to decide how much oil is going to be pumped, as soon as you have drama over in the Middle East, oil prices automatically react because they are predicting that oil will be harder to get, right? So when you see things happening in the stock market, don't mean it's happening today. It is a leading indicator. We won't feel it until months later. So right now, President Biden got assassinated. The stock market would immediately react. But it'll take a while for us to get, you know what I'm saying? So you're seeing what the market is doing. They're anticipating what they think is going to happen. Now, on
And I
top of
just
that,
looked it up. I'm seeing oil prices at 118, 116, 119. That's not crazy, but
not
the gas price is ridiculous.
yeah. So on top of that too, you're going to have, you got people to think about what's going to happen in the future. Then in inflationary periods, you have corporations take advantage. Some people raise their price just because they can, and I think it's a mix of both. To be completely honest, I think it's a mix of both, of corporate greed on top of rising oil prices, on top of what people are expecting to come. So companies are thinking like, well, when I go to do my reorder, it may be harder to get, it may be longer to get. So let me go ahead and raise my prices and things like that. So that's my belief on particular oil prices.
Can you break down futures? What are futures? People keep talking about futures.
Futures are, well, you got Forex. You talked about Forex there. Forex is your foreign exchange when people are trading currencies, right? I can't remember all the pairs, but it's about, I can't remember how many pairs it is, but it's pretty much just trading currencies, because right now the dollar is going to get strong because the Federal Reserve interest rates going up. When inflation was going up by itself with no interest rates, you saw the value of the dollar go down. Now the dollar is going to become strong. When the dollar becomes strong, it does not become very when the dollar becomes strong, it does not do well internationally. People buy less when the dollar is very strong. So now you have Forex, right? You got Forex. It's a foreign exchange. Some people trade it, to make money off of what's going on in the world. It's a 24-hour market that people trade, buy and sell currencies, to make profits, right? You spoke about, what was the other thing? Stocks and futures. So futures and options. I guess I could kind of tie them in together. Futures are betting on what a price of something will be in the future, right? For prime example, I think the price of corn is going to be XYZ. So you're saying, hey, give me the right to be able to buy corn for $100 a barrel all the way into December 13th, right? So December 13th, so you're buying for a particular price into the future. So for prime example, let's say by December or November, the price of corn is going for $1,000. That person had they betted on the future price of what they thought corn was going to be, or wheat was going to be, or whatever. That's what you kind of see a lot in the futures market. Or some people bet on what they think the S&P 500 will be in the future. So, or some people bet against what they think the S&P 500 won't be in the future. So that's what when you look into your future markets, people are betting what they think the price is going to be, going into a particular future.
Okay, and I'm gonna bring Omar Montgomery in.
Okay. I've been wanting to meet Omar. Omar is the president of the NAACP here, right?
For the Aurora branch. Yeah. How you doing, my good?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing, Omar? I don't think I met you in person.
Hey, well, I'm glad we're meeting now, and look forward to meeting you in the future. I really like the topic that we have going right now. I find it educational.
Yes.
And at the same time, I wonder how many people who are looking at inflation and looking at all these different numbers fly across the screen, where some people are saying this is how things going to level out. Some people are scared about their retirement. How do we educate them to figure out what to do next?
Yes.
You talked about futures. How does that tie into retirements?
Well, usually retirement accounts are more conservative. It's very rare you see somebody with a retirement account buying, futures. Most of the time they hold usually like a indexes, like a S&P 500, or they may hold maybe like small bonds or fixed or whatever, right? So what happens is when you near retirement, as you get closer to retirement, you have two types of retirement. You have life cycles where people automate their retirement, meaning that in their younger years, you take me, I'm 37. And as I get older, I become more conservative. My retirement date may be 2050, meaning that as I get closer to retirement, I become more conservative just for something like in case the pandemic happened, my retirement doesn't get jolted that much, right? So for a young person, someone who's just starting to invest in, this is a prime opportunity when you want to get in. It's great for someone who is starting to invest, who just got into the workforce with a 401k, but it could be horrible for someone who's getting ready to exit the the workforce and you utilize the 401k. But usually when people near retirement, their investments become more conservative. So while you're young, you want to take all of the risk, you want to get all of the growth. Yes, you're going to have your ups and your downs. In 2020, you look like a genius. 2021, you really look like a genius. 2022, you're second guessing yourself, right? So you're like, I don't know. So the difference between crypto and stocks, nobody is doubting that stocks will come back. Nobody's like,
right.
But crypto, everybody's like, I don't. I
Yeah.
think, I hope it. They said it's supposed to hedge out inflation. So, and because crypto is so young, so and also crypto doesn't have as much invested interest in going forward. Like this market keeps doing what it's doing. It's the first thing that's on the president's desk. These gas prices and oil prices are the first thing on the president's desk. Nobody is going to care about the SHIB, a new coin at that level, because everybody knows everybody's 401ks. You're talking about trillions of dollars that are tied up into 401ks into the market. So the government that's going to be the first priority. So that's why you see a lot of people a little bit more timid, with crypto. I look at it, I'm like, is it a buying time? Stocks, I'm like, yeah, of course it's a buying time. Crypto, I'm like, I don't really know, because I didn't really know what it was before we went into a recessionary period. So I looked at them as lottery tickets. That's why I told people, I said, hey, these are lottery tickets. And if you scratch off and win, cool on you. But if you don't, I don't know what to tell you.
And look, Omar, I got one more question for him, and then I'm gonna let you hit him up, because
my question let's see what your question is. It may lean into mine.
Okay. I heard about one more investment term that I know about is a 10-year T note.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it a T bond or a T note?
Yeah. The 10-year,
is that a smart thing for right now?
Well, some people look at the 10-year yield, right? So right now you have a yield curve that's going up, meaning that they expect the interest rates to go up, right? And interest rate society, bonds make more money. They do well when you have higher interest rates. When you have an inverted yield curve, that means they're expecting interest rates to drop in the future. Right. So right now people are looking at a 10-year note. See, that's good it all depends on who you are. That's good for someone who's like, hey, I want to be very conservative. When people are being conservative and they want to draw. So for example, the whole point is people accumulate as much money as they can. Then once they accumulate all the money they can, they put it in a conservative place that's going to draw them dividends. Usually that's going to be something like a bond. Sometimes it could be real estate, annuities, things like that. People look for, where can I've grown this nest egg. Now, where can I put it to be able to draw a cash flow for me to live? So people, when they get older, they're looking to bonds, or someone, let's say, hey, I played for the Denver Broncos for 10 years. I got $10 million. I just want to put my money there somewhere so I can draw me a cash flow. They may be interested into a bond or something like that. But for someone who is in the growth phase, who are trying to grow money over time, I wouldn't look into a 10-year yield. I would look more into equities if I was in the market arena.
Okay. Equities being exactly
stocks and stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's break this down by age.
Got it.
So I'm gonna name an age bracket, and you can let me know what advice you give to them in regards to investing. So let's say 18 to 25, maybe in college, not. But I know when I was in college, people were trying to get me to put $25 away, $30 away. That probably went to books. That probably went to a few other things. But what advice would you give to that age bracket who sometimes shy away from saving because they're trying to live day by day?
Well, the first thing is usually younger people, and I was, of course, we all was very young at one time. Younger people like tangible things. They like things they can see, they touch. Hey, I brought something, and hey, look at those shoes. Hey, look at my car. I feel like I have something. When you tell me to go put it inside of an account and then it grows, like I don't feel like I'm getting anything. Then the stock market went down. I'm like, I don't know, right? I can't see the bigger picture. It's very hard for a young person to see the long term. I remember when I was 17 years old, and it was like, yeah, one day when you turn 40, I thought 40 was like a dinosaur. And that dinosaur, like, oh my God, I don't know if I ever make it to 40. That's so far away. But then now when you get 37, you're like, oh, that's not that far away. So the thing is, I would tell them right now, vacant land and stocks. So right now you look in Colorado, you could get land for $1,000, $2,000, right? I would say, hey, you know what? Become a landowner. Take that $25 a month, save it up, or hey, if depending on what your credit looks like, go out, take a loan, buy you some land, and pay the land off, and become a landowner.
Okay, let's go to that next bracket. Let's say I'm about to graduate from college, maybe going to get my master's or start the workforce, entry-level salaries, let's say between the age of 25 and 35.
Okay, ages 25 to 35, right? I would back that up in at 18. If you got the means, you should definitely be buying land, and you should definitely be buying stocks as well. Now, when you get to 18 to 25, I would definitely say you can get more into stocks and start to look to businesses. If you are an entrepreneur, or if you know someone who's an entrepreneur, I would let me rephrase this. What I would do, I would buy land still. I'll add some more into stocks, and I will start to look for opportunities in business, and I will only invest with professionals. I will seek out a professional private equity type guy to see, hey, I don't want to start a business, but there's some people out there who want to start a business, or a business that may be being brought out or something like that. And I would try to link into the private equity world at that age.
Okay. 2 more age brackets, then I'm done. That now you're hitting your stride. You're about to make, probably what you consider to be the salary you wanted or close to it. You're between 35 and 50.
Oh, now you get to 35 and 50, a little bit before you get 30. Of course, you got to get a house, right? Start acquiring homes. And then I would start to look into rental properties. Because by the time, if you did all that stuff before, you have a lot of land on your hands, right? By the time you're 35, you should have a lot of land on your hand. Your stock portfolio should be looking pretty nice. Now you're adding a home into it, right? And depending on, maybe you're married now, maybe you might have 2 incomes. Now you got the primary residence, and then now I would look into rental properties. So I would have rental properties. I would have my own home. I would have some land. I would have some stocks. And then hopefully, if I got lucky with my private equity, I'll be staring down the pathway of retirement.
So last ages, let's say 50 on up to retirement ages, two different groups. A group that has invested wisely, and then another group where, I'm really just starting to invest now because I'm really just learning about money, which is really many people in our community. They really don't start learning about money until they made some mistakes, and they're about 45, 50 years old.
Now, if I was someone who had invested wisely, I would be looking for cash flow and assets. Like, hey, let me take this nest egg, and I don't want my nest egg to just sit here. I want my nest egg to kind of build me some type of residual income, right? So I'll be looking for cash flow, things like bonds, things like maybe my rental properties. If they've done well, I might want to sell them, right? Take some of that cash out of them. But I'll be looking for cash flow now. Once I get to that age, I've done well with investments. I say, well, where can I put this money? Maybe an annuity, right? An annuity now to say, hey, what's going to pay me every month that can take care of my lifestyle. Now, if I was someone who did not invest and I was like, hey, I'm just learning about it, I'm just getting into investing, the first thing I would do is in that case, I would probably go get a professional, right? I mean, it's two ways of doing it. You got 2 ways of doing it. It's like right now, if I want to go change my oil, I can go change my own oil, or I can go call a mechanic. If I want to cut my hair, I can cut my own hair, or I would, So what I would do now, saying that even if you're in your 50s, hopefully you're making some good money or have a nice little disposable income that's going on, and to sit down and say, hey, now I need to know, when do I want to retire? I'm 50 years old. I'm starting to invest. And when do you want to shut off the clock? You got to figure out some people is 72, some people is 65, some people is 35, whatever it is. Figure out what your retirement age is. So if your retirement age is 65 and you are 50 years old today, you have 15 years, right? 15 years. So before I can get here, now I know where you want to stop at. I know we got 15 years to get to a particular point. What type of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to live like Kevin out there in California and Malibu and living it up, right?
Hey, now, easy.
you know, or do you want to live like Paul Prince in his basement, right? You know? So it depends. Some people are like, hey man, I can get around on a bicycle and I want to live with my dad or whatever family, my grandmother, and I inherited a house. So you got to know what your lifestyle you want. When do you want to retire? Once you know what your lifestyle is, when do you want to retire? Now I can figure out how much money you're going to need to accumulate within a 15-year period. Now I know in 15 years, we need to get to $1 million, right? Now my next question is going to be, well, how much do you have to invest? How much can you invest to help get to this particular picture? You say, hey, well, you know what? I've done pretty well. I got a great job. I have a nice little nest egg of 50 grand. Plus I have another 5 grand a month. Then I can map out a picture of like, okay, if you have 100 grand and you can put away $50,000 a year at this particular rate of return, we need to get you 10% a year, or we need to get you 8% a year to get you to this particular point. And that's the way, reverse engineering to get yourself to a particular picture.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's really strong. So
Umar, nice to meet you.
Hey, bro, I gotta say this. One, I want to thank you for answering, because a lot of people don't know how to start out. And a lot of people are afraid of investing because if people still listen to the horror stories of the Great Depression, people listen to the horror stories of when we had the real estate boom, and then everything fell. Green Valley Ranch was a prime case study on people purchased these homes. They were upside down in their loans, and it became one of the main places where you saw a lot of people lose their home. And then you saw people gain because they got those homes undervalued, and now they're benefiting from the equity in those homes. So, I think there's just a lot of fear out there, but if you're wise, you can also benefit.
I think what first of all, Omar, I like to call that PTSD, right? when you going through, you seen the market crash, you're like, what? And you seen the real estate. I saw the horror stories of buddies who lost homes and lost their security clearances. So that made me timid when it came down to the world of investing. But the reason why I was timid, because I didn't know what it was. I wasn't educated. I didn't know. I said, man, I really didn't know what was going on and how things kind of worked, right? So once you educate yourself, and if you're like, hey, I don't have time to sit down and deal with that, if you are that person, don't let that affect you. Reach out to someone, a professional, a licensed professional that is. It's just like, I may not understand how to cut my hair, but I'm not just going to sit there and just let it grow wild, right? I'm going to say, well, I don't know how to tame my hair, or if I had a daughter and I don't know how to do my daughter's hair, and I was a single father, I'm probably going to go find a beautician or someone who's in cosmetology who can do a hair. That's the same thing I encourage other people to do. Find you a licensed professional that you trust, that you match with, and go to them and say, hey, this is my situation. I do it all the time. I drive my truck. It make a little noise or a signal come on my truck. I don't know what this crap is. I'm not going to sit there and just sit on the side of the road. I'm going to drive on down, find a dealership or find a mechanic and say, hey, man, I got this sign. Can you help me out? And that's
hey, Prince, I know I got you for 3 more minutes. Let me cut in on you. I want you to talk about some of your beginnings. We got just a couple more minutes, but this is how I met you on the school board when you presented to us. The first thing you presented to us was this right here.
Oh wow, yeah. Yeah. Yes, that was my first book, Wesley Learns to Invest. Wesley is now 11 years old. That was my first book that came out in 2015. That was a long time. Now it's like a long time ago, but my first book came out in 2015. One of the world's first investment books for children. So I wrote a investment book for children of a father and son story of us learning how to invest and me starting to invest with him with real life situations that you can go out and apply today, like a roadmap, right? Back in 2015 when I self-published that one. Then, my second book, I wrote one about credit that came out in 2017. Wesley Learns About Credit. And the third one came out with NFL Hall of Famer Terrell Davis. Wesley Learns About Insurance, where we did we taught kids about insurance, credit, and then we turned it into a book club and gave people their stocks. So right now, what we're doing is we're on a mission now, getting ready to launch a book drive to where right now we have a sponsor that came in that's going to match us up to $10,000. Every dollar I raise, he's going to give me $1 all the way up to 10 grand. And what we're going to do is we're going to buy as many of these books as possible and give them out to as many people, many kids as humanly possible. So we're going to keep that drive going to we have these books into the hands of every kid, this book series into the hands of every kid in America. That's the thing we're doing now with the book drive. And then also, looking at coming out with a 4th book in the series on real estate for children. So it's going to be a storyline. It's a storyline of what I did with my son. For his birthday, I purchased him a piece of land, and he has his name. He has his name and the deed on a piece of land. And we're going to go, a nice little storyline of a real life story, father and son going through learning about real estate. He's going to sit back and watch his parents build it. I don't want to get a whole storyline away, but he's going to watch his parents get their first home, and he's going to understand the difference between renting and buying and things like that. And also at the end, we're going to give you something you can go out and do real life with your child. And what I did for my son Wesley was go out and purchase him a piece of land so kids can have real estate and get exposure to real estate at a young age.
And everything focused on kids, former school board here. Omar is highly motivated to help the kids. I want you to talk to us about this right here, and we can, sign you out.
Yes, this is the Global Children Financial Literacy Foundation. This is a nonprofit that I started back in 2017 with my right-hand man, Chad Davis, who's out in Maryland. So after we wrote the 2nd book, we created a foundation. What this foundation does, we partner with boys and girls clubs and schools and probably about 7 to 8 clubs here. So the book series is a book club. So the kids read a book about investing. They take a 5-question quiz. They read a book about credit. They take a 5-question quiz. They read a book about insurance. They take a 5-question quiz. And due to sponsors, we turn around at the end and turn kids into first-time shareholders of stock. So we've awarded Nike, we've awarded Apple, and we awarded Coca-Cola and Disney thus far to kids that have completed the book club. And it's not the pie in the sky theory where we're just going to talk you to death about it. We want you to have something that's tangible. If the parents are willing to open up you an investment account, we already have the shares in our foundation account, and we will transfer those shares right over to the parent. I mean, it's not $1 million. It's only probably about $100 something worth. But hey, you open up an investment account for your child, turn them into a first-time shareholder stock.
Can help pay for college in the long run. If you decide to go to college, open your business, purchase your first home.
Take their first step towards being a millionaire.
That's true. Hey, most parents, once I put that first share of stock in there, parents add on to it. Parents say, you know what? I got this account. I got this stock. Can I purchase something? Can I add on to it? And most certainly you can. It is your account. You just need an account. In order for us to transfer the share to you, you have to create an account for wherever you want to go to and go from there.
I would argue that parents that were born in the 40s and 50s seem to me were more financially savvy than some of the generation, not all, but some of the generation we have today. And the reason why I say that is because I see more people going to their grandparents for loans. I see more people going to their great grandparents for financial stability. I know we don't have time to talk about this, but one day I would love to dive into why was that generation so successful when it came to savings, although they were only making, they wasn't rich. We're talking about people that worked for Union Pacific, that worked for the post office, that were in the military, teachers, principals. These are just your everyday jobs, but yet they're very stable financially.
Yes, sir.
And I want to leave before I get out here, Kevin. And my ultimate goal before I leave this earth is for kids when they walk into the 5th grade. When they walk into kindergarten at 5 years old, they get an investment account.
Wow.
An investment account. Soon as you walk into kindergarten, you get an investment account. Instead of waiting until you turn 18 and giving you a bunch of scholarships, screw that. Take all that scholarship money, give it to kindergartners. Give it to kindergartners. And now, once you get an investment account to a kindergartner, now I can no longer have a pie in the sky theory. They have an account. They take a financial literacy course every year, and then that will eradicate student loan debt crisis.
You could give half as much of a student of a scholarship at kindergarten and just let them build the interest and take the other half and put it into the fund earning interest to continue that process forward.
Because scholarships
that's what you wanted to do originally with the rural public schools.
Yeah, because what's happening is scholarships are going broke. Because look at inflation. You got to keep every year, you got to give out more and more money to be effective. So why inflation is, instead of it being your enemy, make it your friend by saying, hey, I'm going to give it to a kindergarten and call it a kindergarten K plan, like a 401k plan, but for kids in kindergarten. And as long as the kids graduate high school and incentivizes them to graduate high school, 2, and incentivizes them to keep a clean record. 3, it incentivizes them to say, hey, I have to have an acceptance letter for school. And guess what? Boom, my school could be paid for. So right now, people can come together. They're talking about putting trillions of dollars, paying off student loans. Give every kid in America a $50,000 investment account and see where we'll be at in 12 years.
I would like to say the Aurora, and I'm speaking for the Aurora branch of the NAACP. We have been giving out small business grants. We've given out close to $150,000 in small business grants. These are grants, not loans, to startups and to people who are just trying to have that dream of owning their own business. Nice. We want to take it to the next level with our youth branch and begin to figure out 2 things. 1, how to do a pitch program so that those kids who want to be entrepreneurs now can get the funds that they need. And last but not least, financial literacy for our youth branch and their families. So we would love to connect with you offline to figure out how we can get that done.
Most certainly, we would make it happen.
Man, Prince, I can't thank you enough. Every time you come on and we get a wealth of information, and it's always different. You're always coming at me from different angles. Tell us where everybody can find you, how people can buy your book and get a hold of you.
Oh, I'm pretty easy to find. Just put my name into Google, Prince Dykes. You'll see a little goofy guy that looks like me. Right there, if you put my name into Google, you'll see my Instagram, my Facebook, my YouTube. So, my podcast and YouTube is called The Investor Show. I do it here locally in Denver. And also I have a branch of it in Hawaii that I'm getting ready to go do tonight. Tonight here, but it's like 3-4 o'clock in Hawaii. Doing it in Hawaii. And I travel the globe. I travel the world, finances, investing, what's going on in the markets, different things. I bring in different, cool, awesome guests that come in from all aspects of the world of finance and investing. And that's the thing I love to do. And easy to find. The Investor Show or Prince Dykes, anywhere you can get a podcast, or you can just Google me. You'll see my books pop up. Wesley Learns, the book series, they're hardcover, they're paperback, they're audio, they're ebooks. You can listen to them on Audible, follow along with a paperback, and get a hardcover to keep in, for your library or your school. So, and also there's a little cartoon online as well. So Wesley Learns, you can find it anywhere, and definitely glad to be here.
Thanks again, Prince.
Thank you.
I'll sign you off here.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Kevin, are we staying on? We got to debrief about this.
Yeah, no. We staying on. Look, we only got a few more minutes. Excuse me, I'll bump my laptop. We only got a few more minutes anyway, but this was big stuff, and I think you missed the first few minutes when he was talking about possible economic decline, possible recession, going along with this inflation, and how the inflation itself drives unemployment, because it's harder to afford harder for business to afford loans to expand, and that can push unemployment. So I mean, for me, that was an angle I never saw coming.
Yeah, but we have to understand that a lot of businesses are struggling to get employees prior to this. So when you add inflation, when you add increase in just resources that they'll need for their business to run, whether if it's appliances, repairs, just trying to get materials and things of this nature, that also impact who they can employ, how many hours they can pay, and how much they can pay. Especially during a time where, I always say you need a mortgage paying salary, a mortgage paying hourly wage. It's easy for me to say that, and I support it and I stand by it. At the same time, you have business owners that are struggling. So the question is, how do we support those business owners to be able to pay that type of salary or hourly wage while they're going through this inflation right now.
And we need a kind of a gentleman's agreement or a contract, but between the working class and the business owner class, saying, look, you know, we want legislation and regulation saying you're going to pay a mortgage paying or a living wage. I need all your workers to be able to afford, you know, a place to live in your surrounding areas, but also we'll look out for you. At the same time, you know, futures, you know, all these investments, some of them aren't available to people. So one of the things that not necessarily just futures, but, you know, getting into the stock market, you know, they weren't necessarily available to everybody, but nowadays we have the technology. And Prince Dykes talked to us about this on the previous episode that he was on, about buying partial stocks, you know, getting in where you fit in. And I think that, stash.
Yes,
That's
Stash
one of the
is a good
ways
app for that.
Yep. Just get started, people. Just get started. If you're watching, just try something. You know, grab $50. If you don't got $100, you don't got $1,000, grab $50 and put it in. Like he said, the S&P 500 is down 30% this year. That means it's time to buy S&P 500 because you buy low. We know that if there's any recession, it's not going to be forever. We know we're going to come back.
And see, and for people that's more in that gray age bracket I'm in, we have to begin to think about, what does retirement look like? If our retirements are taking the hit, then do we take some of that money invested in other areas so that we can have that residual income? I'm seeing a lot more people my age go into entrepreneurship, go into real estate, go into doing little what they call the side hustles or the side jobs to supplement their retirement, and something they may want to do part-time once they retire, because we don't know what the cost of living is going to be another 10 years from now.
And, you know, right here in the trucking industry with me, I work with a lot of retired people. You know, they retire from one job and they go right back to work. And that gives me that red flag. You know, it makes me worry about, you know, people not necessarily investing correctly and whatnot. And I don't want that to be the future for everybody. I want people to be able to retire and stay home and do your hobbies and be with your family and take care of the grandkids and everything else. You know, have, like you said, side hustles. No, don't work, you know, 10 hours a day. You know, once you retire, like enjoy your life. Move to Costa Rica. That's where I'm trying to go.
And then there's small things you can do. Anyone can start an LLC, and that LLC can help with write-offs you can't do as just a regular person that's filing their taxes. Putting together an LLC, when you go to coffee, when you have lunch with your friends, talk business, be a consultant or things of this nature. People tease consultants, but a smart consultant know how to use that LLC for tax write-offs. When they buy a printer, when they buy a new computer, when they go on business trips and they're going to Hawaii, you're going to Hawaii with your family, but what portion of that is business? What portion of that is going out there to meet with potential business partners? So people just need to learn some of these little small tricks. And it takes nothing to start an LLC and to open a business account.
So when I go to Hawaii, I need to film an episode.
You need to film an episode, and you need to jump on with me so we could talk about the future of Dope Black Thoughts. That's what we need to do. As a matter of fact, I may need to meet you out there so that we can have that conversation on the beach.
We got to write it off, you know, so let's make it worth our while.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
I was about to say it has nothing to do with our topic, so I'll wait for you.
No. I was going to ask you to finish this up, close us out. So anything you got on your mind, hit me.
The only thing I'm gonna say is that we're in primary. Open your ballot and vote, and let your voice be heard. Open your ballot, vote, and let your voice be heard. There's important primaries happening in Georgia. We're trying to get that sister Stacey Abrams as governor. You got local elections. Because I'm close to some of these elections, I'm not going to dive into who running for what and all that other stuff, but just open your ballot. It's a simple thing. Check the box, fill in the little bubble, fold it up, put it in the secure sheet, put it in the envelope, seal it, take it to the drop box. That could take all of 5 or 10 minutes. Please go.
And you know what a lot of people have to do is let go of this mentality of ain't nothing going to change. A lot of things have changed in my lifetime, and I'm 40. A lot of things have changed in my lifetime. You know, someone who may have a couple of years on me, such as Omar, may have seen more drastic change from the time you say graduated high school. My mother remembers when integration happened in school. She's still alive and kicking and about to celebrate her 70th.
Yes.
This coming April. You know, so things change, and we have to get involved and get active and let go of this mindset of my voice doesn't count. We're trying to let you know your voice does count. And politics is every day in your life. So I'm with you 100%. In these local races, 10 seconds, Google it. Hop on there. The one you don't want to vote for probably says something egregious, and it's in your local newspaper. It'll pop up. It won't even be a paywall like New York Times, you know, making you want to subscribe. You'll be able to just go straight to it and check it out. So again, open that ballot. That was great advice, Omar. It's and register. If you're not registered, go ahead and do it.
I would say our dope black thought of the day: go vote.
Go vote. Get registered. Cast your vote. Do a little 10 minutes on Google. Check them out and cast that vote. Man, Omar, this has been a great episode for me. How you feel about it?
It's been a great episode. I hope that the community can learn from what was shared here. Start saving now. Even if you make minimum wage, if you could put $5 away a pay period, $10 away a pay period, you may not see the benefit now, but in the long run, that money adds up, and no telling what you'll be able to do with that money, such as buying property, opening up a business, or preparing for your retirement now.
And that was the key that to breaking that curse or breaking that cycle, that self-perpetuating cycle of not generating generational wealth. Invest early. Talk about financial literacy early. Get a kid's book on investing for your kid. You know, look at the Global Children's Financial Literacy Foundation, GCFLF, and just get the kids started early. You're starting late. You're behind the 8 ball a little bit. Okay, let's make these decisions and get it figured out. But let's get these kids started right now. So I got some teens and some less than teens, and this is what we're talking about.
Prediction: Golden State or Boston?
Golden State.
Hey, go Avalanche! Great job winning in overtime yesterday. I'm going with Golden State today. Although I like Boston, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
I think we have a sleeper. I think a lot of people think it's going to go 7 games. I think I'm gonna go with Golden State.
Absolutely. Omar, thanks for a great episode. I'm gonna sign us out here, and everybody, DBT out.
See you next week.
What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, then hit back in it. Calling me an Uber just to hit back in it. Use the cash out like pay, I send it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it.